Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Marty Haney. I'm a member of the worship team here. And with me is Music Director Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, Religious Educator Sarah Gray, and this morning's tech team, Max Beck, Linnea Nelson, Jeffrey Moore, and Gabby Cabrera. If you are new among us, welcome. For more information on Unitarian Universalism and our congregations, please go to orlandouu.org. Today, we have Reverend Kenn Hurto with us as our worship leader today. Kenn is an old friend of this congregation, and he is the Ministerial Search Committee coach from the southern region of our Unitarian Universalist Association. Worship today, Kenn will be at a town hall meeting to dive into the details of the ministerial search process and answer your questions. So after worship, you'll need to leave this service, then sign on to the town hall meeting with the Zoom link and a password. Both were sent in the email e-blast last Friday from the church office. Our transition minister, Reverend Sam, will return to the pulpit next week with our religious educator, Sarah Gray, for a special service honoring our religious education program. And at that service, we'll be honoring our graduating seniors. We want to help you celebrate your high school and college graduations, so please give us advance notice if you're young adults and when your young adults are graduating. This week, there are several online events that are listed in the e-blast that's on the website and on Facebook. If you'd like to help us, if you'd like to make an offering, you can use the donate button on the upper right corner of orlandouu.org, or you can text at 407-456-7082, and there are additional directions on the Facebook page, or you can send a check. And speaking of sending a check, thank you so much to all of you who have pledged to our generosity campaign. We've heard from almost 60% of you, and we are nearly $37,000 over last year's at this time. Your generosity is amazing. There are about 80 folks we still haven't heard from, and we would greatly appreciate you dropping us a line. If you want to confirm your pledge, that's great, but mostly we want to know if you're okay. So now let us gather in worship, beginning in song.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me, stand by me willingly? Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
In the Free Church, the chalice is a symbol of our hope and our faith. We light the chalice this morning, saying these words, "In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, sustain, and to share." Amen.
In our joys and concerns, Dale reports that her grandson, Xander, has been discharged from the hospital and is doing well, and he's been accepted into 2 honor high schools. Carla wants us to know that she's grateful for the support she has received as she works with her doctor in her recent diagnosis of ocular myasthenia gravis. And we want you to know that the UUA has awarded Linnea Nelson her master level credentialing in religious education. And in these days, we remember all those who are helping others and who need help.
There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. Oh, there is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain, but then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. If you cannot preach like Peter, if you cannot pray like Paul, you can tell the love of Jesus and say he died for all. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
I invite you now to enter into a period of reflection and prayer. But first we begin sitting together, holding each other's hearts and perhaps each other's hands in our imaginations. Spirit of life, which goes by so many names as to it almost does not matter. We pause in the busyness of our days to rest, to be open to new possibility, and to be present to one another and the beauty of life. We step outside ourselves for just a moment to take into our awareness and our prayers those who are suffering greatly at this time in our world, in our cities, and in our neighborhoods. We give thanks for those who are putting themselves at risk to care for those in need, those who are sick. We thank nurses and doctors and aides, hospital cleaners. We thank EMT and ambulance drivers. And yes, we thank also those who are providing mortuary services for those who have passed into the mysteries. We give thanks for those who are holding things together, those working from home, those working and educating their kids at home. We thank those delivery folks who are traveling all over the country to keep us in touch and supplied with our needs. Yes, we give thanks for all these. Let us be mindful. Let us be grateful. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Gray, a religious educator here at First Unitarian. And today I'll be sharing a story that many of you are probably familiar with called Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. Brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know. And you are the guy who will decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look 'em over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not so good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't. Because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're darked. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right 3/4, or maybe not quite? Or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find. or a mind maker upper to make up his mind. You can get so confused that you'll start into race down long wiggled roads at breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting, waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting, perhaps, for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wing with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. Now, if you are familiar with this story, Oh, the Places You'll Go, you may notice that this isn't the end. The story is not over. And the way we did that today was intentional, because sometimes in life, we have to stay in this weird waiting place for a bit before we can move forward.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now, the rain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. All of the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
Oh, the best laid plans. One moment, please. Well, I'm doing this. Let me say, when some months ago, when Reverend Sam and President Mary invited me to come be with you, I was so thrilled. And I had such a good sense of what I would want to share with you. And I want to thank them for this invitation and how much I would prefer to be with you in person. Yes, we are old friends. I know so much of your story as a congregation there in Orlando. Thanks also to the tech team for making this a possible way to come together and to share our faith and our understandings. I'm aware of an old Yiddish proverb that says, "We plan and God laughs." And so I was thinking, I knew some months ago exactly what I would say. And while a worldwide plague was predicted, it certainly wasn't in my life expectations. And I'm feeling terribly unprepared and now wondering what if and what's going to happen next. And I don't know who to believe about what. I mean, they're hearing all sorts of crazy things being said about what will heal us and how bad it's going to be or how bad it's not going to be. And I just want to know what's coming next. And for years, I took great comfort in this little ditty that when you come to the edge of all you know, you must believe one of two things. You'll step out into the unknown and find something solid to stand on, or you'll learn to fly. That was a great comfort to me for all these many years. But alas, this is how it feels to me today. I'm sheltered in place and I'm just hanging on. And there's some mornings I wake up and I fear that the ropes holding me in place are beginning to unravel. If not for me, for someone else, and we're all about to crash to our doom. This is how it feels to me. I wonder if it feels that way to you as well. Somehow in my comfort one moment, I'm terrified the next. Well, it does seem to me that it's quite normal to be frightened in these times, feel lost and confused, not knowing what to do, where to go, just plain baffled. I find myself going through these mixtures of being unable to concentrate, seeing stories in the news, and I want to do something, but I don't know what to do or how to do it. And I want to stay sheltered and be safe, and I don't want to inadvertently pass on the COVID disease for somebody else if I'm asymptomatic. It's a very difficult time, lots of stress and lots of anxiety. Anxiety is just a big fancy word of I'm scared, but I'm not quite sure what I'm scared of. And so it is. I think a lot of people are very scared and tensions are high. And when tensions are high, people tend to get into very primal places of wanting what they want when they want it and needing. Whoever thought that there'd be a run on toilet paper during a pandemic? Who knew? So here we are, good friends, waiting, just simply waiting. What are we waiting for? I don't know, but I think of that the 26 million people who are out of work. They're waiting to be able to go back to work, and businesses, the hundreds of thousands of businesses that have been shuttered up. They want to know when can they open up again. And I think of what it must be like to be a small mom and pop shop, or you have your own little gift boutique somewhere, or even a gym that you're trying to run, and you're looking at the rent payments and no income. How are you going to survive through this? Conceptually, it's even a strain for me to think about this. I just don't know what to think. And so I'm waiting for some clarity. But what's next? I think, my friends, we don't know. Perhaps more of the same. So when I pondered what I might share with you today, I seized upon an old practice that goes way back to the old monastics and the hermits and the folks who go on walkabouts. Here's the phrase to think about this. The phrase liminal moments, it means simply we're caught between two spaces where you don't know where we have been, although we'd kind of like to go back to normal, whatever that is. And we know we're maybe going somewhere, but right now we're just hanging in the not knowing. We don't know what's going to be next. And it's not sure what we should be doing in the waiting place, if anything. Is the waiting place some kind of terrible, awful hell? Or is it an opportunity for us to think differently? I mean, who would have thought we'd be doing church through computers and Zoom products? Who would have thought? Now, liminal moments are not all that rare. We go through them all the time, but usually with less drama than we're facing now. You graduate from high school to go to college, or college to go to life. That's a liminal moment. You get a new job and you sort of are glad to move on, but you miss the old days. You get married, and that's wonderful. And yeah, part of you misses your days of singlehood, and you're still trying to figure out how to do this wedded bliss thing. So there's all kinds of liminal moments, even death, when we go from what we have known to something that will yet be, but we don't quite understand where we are. James Baldwin once wrote, "Any real change implies the breakup of the world as one has always known it, the loss of all that gave one an identity, the end of safety, and at such a moment unable to see and not daring to imagine what the future will now bring forth, one clings. One clings to what one knew or dreamed of what one possessed, and yet it is only when a person is able, without bitterness or self-pity, to surrender a dream they have long cherished, a privilege they have long possessed, that they are set free. They have set themselves free for a higher dream and a greater privilege." This is the liminal moment. That's what it's all about. Letting go and hanging on and letting go. Pivoting from the old days to the not yet emerged, and asking yourself all the time as you're waiting and waiting, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Now, this is what it's like. We know we're going to pass through a space and come out in another space, but what's in between? Well, this is, I think, where a life of spirituality merges. Having some confidence, some reason to believe that we should keep going, even though it looks like we're at the end of our ropes, our bridge, our solid space. Now, as I was reflecting on people wearing masks or not wearing masks, and all the silly and sometimes tragic recommendations for how to avoid this COVID-19 disease, I remembered the tragedy of David Vedder, the bubble boy. You may recall he had a severe immune deficiency, and the only way he could live was to stay inside a sterilized bubble. Well, are we any different? Sheltered in our homes, shuttered up behind doors, putting on masks whenever we go somewhere. And we don't particularly like it. You know, it's hard to think that I've closed myself off to life. And for some people, being closed is like being in jail. We're not just locked in, we're locked up. When will it end? When will it end? Are we there yet? You know, at first, it's not so bad. All right, well, I'll clean that closet that I've been waiting for some time to do. After a couple of days, well, let's go for walks. We can still go for walks. And then we get out our Netflix and our Hulus and we binge watch a whole bunch of shows. And when that wears thin, we get out the crossword puzzles, not the 200-piece crossword puzzles, the 2,000-piece. We spend a couple of days working on that and trying to find ways to entertain ourselves, perhaps even distract ourselves. And we get very eager to have America open up again. And some people will show up very angry, thinking that somehow their rights, their individuality of being able to go wherever they please has been taken away from them, and they have every right to protest, unmindful of the common good. The common good, something we don't talk much about anymore in our political discourse. What is the common good? Is life only a matter about doing your own thing and walking whatever beach you want to walk? What are we opening ourselves up to? Well, we've had our warnings. Don't open too soon because you just may imperil all the gains that we have made thus far. And this is often true with people who are anxious. They want to somehow go back to something that was normal, it never was normal, but they want to go back and cling to what they have known. And they go too quickly to a new solution, a new promise, when the return is not available. Well, as Speedy Gonzalez reminds us, when you're in a hurry, you make some big mistakes. And let us hope and pray that our governors will resist this impulse to open up too soon or open up unwisely, and we end up simply having to go through a repeated and more severe form of lockdown. Well, so maybe it's time for us to think of this liminal moment as a time where we step out of our usual lives and go on a spiritual retreat. Irish poet Jonathan O'Donohue, you've been forced to enter empty time. The desire that drove you has relinquished. There is nothing else to do now but rest and patiently learn to receive the self you have forsaken in the race of days. You know, there are people who can't bear the thought of a Sunday afternoon, rainy Sunday afternoon, without somebody telling them what to do. They can't sit still quietly. The great French philosopher Pascal once said, most of humanity's troubles comes from our inability to sit still in a room. But let us remember, as Maya Angelou said, this is going to be a good day. I've never seen this one before. It's a serious thing to be alive in this fresh morning in this broken world, says Mary Oliver. So in addition to that little ditty I shared earlier, I remember these words from Lao Tzu. Do you have the patience to wait until the mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? Do we have faith that we'll know what to do when it is time to do it? So we wait, and we wait, and we wait. So what I've been doing is I've been trying to remember some basic spiritual practices and think of myself not as locked up, but as in a sanctuary, a place where I can be free of the troubles of the world and practice being aware that I'm alive, that I breathe, that I have people I love and people whom I love, who care for me. Pay attention to the sound of the birds, to go for a walk and actually breathe the air and hear the wind blow. Another thing I'm trying to give myself permission to do is admit I'm scared. I'm just simply scared that maybe there is nothing on the other side of that abyss. Maybe this is all we have and this is all we will have, or in my worst moments, this is the end. That somehow the great cosmic experiment of evolution has brought us to our knees. I don't think so, but nonetheless, I do have that fear from time to time. And then I try to understand the people I'm connected to and how to reach out and allow others to reach out to me, and to recognize I'm very frustrated giving people air hugs or waving at them on a Zoom call, telling somebody in every email, stay well, stay safe, just doesn't cut it. We are touchy people. We want to hold each other. And for now, we do so at our peril. And as I said, I've listened to the news and I want to know how to cultivate compassion for those who are less fortunate than I. So here's the questions that I've been challenging myself with. Unitarian Universalism is a values-based faith tradition. We affirm certain things and try to live according to them. It's no new thing to be lonely, but when we think about what's going on, the question of how do I fit into the scheme of all this? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for you? And how do I escape the sense that I'm a bubble boy surrounded by all these terrible potential threats? And then I listen to the news and I say, how our faith teaches us to have respect for the worth of all people. And I really am questioning that. What do I do with the hate mongers, the scammers, the spammers, the people who are lying every way? Oh, that takes me to the whole question of truth. No, old saying, the truth will set you free. But what do we have a very war against truth going on? And we, every day for weeks now, we've been turning into the so-called Daily Show with our president, which ought really to be called the Daily Lying Show. How do we find the truth in all that's going on? There's the question of compassion. I consider myself incredibly privileged that I have food in the refrigerator and shelter and no immediate threats to my well-being, but I see the homeless in our streets and neighborhoods and around the world, and my heart breaks, and I want to do more than just sit there. So this last week, we made a very generous donation to the local food pantry as one small thing that we could do. And of course, as more and more comes out, we learn about the disparities. People of color are suffering more from the COVID than other people. This represents a whole lot of social ills. We're discovering that most of the people in our country do not have more than a few weeks reserves. And to being told that $1,200 is something they should be able to live on for 3 months. What a joke, I'm sorry to say. The hubris of our leadership, the arrogance of those who say, well, we'll give aid to the states that are going to vote our way. And then last week we celebrated Earth Day, 50 years of observations. And when did it go from climate change or global warming to climate change? And when will we acknowledge we face a catastrophe and crisis in our climate? Well, I need to tell you a quick story. In the end of July in 1945, the USS Indianapolis was tasked with an important part of the war effort. And after they had arrived in Guam, they were given orders to sail straight away to the Philippines. And the captain was told that there were no known subs in that course, and he could sail directly rather than follow the usual evasive maneuvers. Well, a little bit after midnight on July 30th, they were torpedoed, and the entire boat of 12 with 2,000 men on it sank in less than 12 minutes. Ultimately, only 300 of them survived. Once the crews were rescued 4 or 5 days later, having floated in the sea surrounded by sharks with little to eat or drink, many dying of saltwater poisoning or worse, being chomped by a shark. One of the reporters asked an old chief petty officer, hey, what's this I hear about those guys when you all form circles to hang on to each other, and every now and then one would just break free and swim away to his certain death? And that CPO and his grouchy old way said, them guys, they just didn't have any faith beyond the horizon they could see. If you want to read a truly tragic story of human life and courage of survival, look into the story of the Indianapolis. But what stays with me is that phrase, they didn't have the ability to see beyond the immediate horizon. For this is what hope is all about, is that ability not to define now as forever, not to see our waiting place as a forever place, but as a getting ready place. Faith is daring to go beyond what our eyes can see. And so what's next? What's next for you and me is to recognize where we are. We're in this waiting place, and we're going to have to take a leap that this isn't the end of all things. And we can move to where we yet want to be, but it's going to take courage and patience and each other to do this. As Unitarian Universalists, ours has always been a hope-based religion. And I call upon you to join me to do everything you can. First, to stem your own fears, to acknowledge them, but not be controlled by them, and to keep identifying the ways we can be hopeful in reaching out to each other, supporting each other. Because as Dorothy says, no one has the right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's yet too much work to be done. So let us be creative and challenge ourselves to find ways yet to minister and to go beyond where we have ever been to something that's going to be even greater. Oh, yes, dear friends, you're going to go places. Sometime soon, maybe. We'll see. All blessings to you in your journeys. Be patient with the waiting place and be ready to go. Amen.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya 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 ya.
And so our time together approaches its end. We give thanks for our having been together. We extinguish the chalice at this time. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of our commitment. These we will continue to carry in our hearts until we are together again. I have some parting words for you, a blessing, if you please, from the Irish poet, Kitty O'Meara. The people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being. And they were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows. And the people began to think differently, and the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed, and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed. May it be so. Amen.